Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing my debt confession as well as talking about my payment strategy for paying off this debt. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to preface a couple of things. First is that my student loan payments actually got deferred to next year, which is amazing because I'm going to have a lot of upcoming expenses over the next couple of months. And it was just going to be better financially for me to not have to pay those right now. So I'm very grateful for that, but that does affect my payment strategy for the upcoming year. And second, I am not a financial advisor or professional or anything of that matter. So everything that I'm sharing today is just me sharing my journey and showing you all the things that I've been learning and what I think will be best for me as I am on this process of becoming financially independent and debt-free. But now we're gonna head into Google Sheets so I can share all of my debt details and my strategy for paying it off. All right, first we're going to start with the very old debt tracker that I introduced on my channel a couple of months ago. It was close to what I wanted, but not 100%. So I wanted to show you all where we started and where we are now. So if I hover over the chart, you'll see that this was giving me an estimated debt-free date of July 2026, which is about 3 years from now. On this far left column was basically the sum of all of these loans on the right, and I was just tracking my balance as time went on. But then Nelnet, which is my student loans, they are the only loans or debt in general that I have right now that is accruing interest on a daily basis. So this setup wasn't really accurate because these were not going to be my amounts, especially after interest was being added on every month. So I needed to revamp that. But before we get to the big reveal of the debt tracker, I want us to head over to the start page so I can share with you all where I'm coming from in my journey. And we're going to start with my journey start date. I could have gone back years ago from when I got my first student loan, but I decided to stick with the date that was a little bit more important to me. And when I started to get really serious about paying down my debt, and that was June of this year. So when you go into the template, you'll be able to either type it in as you want or double click and bring up the calendar. So this is my date. Because I have so many other sheets that are within this tracker, which I will release as I perfect them, this is going to be a start page for the entirety of the planner. And so I'm starting to slowly add bits and pieces of things that I want on this first page. And now we have debt details. As we're going down the list, I did want to clarify that these start balances are based on the start date above. So as of June 2023, I had a balance of $732 on this debt. Be sure to keep that in mind when you're adding your starting balances. At this first one, this is money that I owe my friend. I pay her $100 a month and there is no interest. And then I have one of my Affirm loans, which is a consumer debt loan. So this one is actually the 7th loan that I have taken out from Affirm, but I have already paid off 5 of the 7 loans that I took out. So I am just at the edge of paying off Affirm completely, and then I don't want to use them for a while. But I had $1,100.64, and that minimum payment is $47.85 per month. Now, I did want to clarify a very unique thing about Affirm loans, which is that although Affirm loans technically have an interest rate, that interest is automatically calculated when you first take out the loan. So instead of me having a balance of $1,100 and then they're adding 29% interest every single month, they tack on all the interest at the beginning. So this $1,100.64 is actually including the lump sum interest that they added at the beginning. And then if I pay off the loan earlier, I can get some of that interest back. And then I have the Affirm 6 loan. This has $233.35, and the minimum payment on that is $35.28. And then I have a student loan from when I went to Arkansas for 1 semester. and that is $1,253.04, and the minimum payment is only $15 a month. Once again, there's no interest, and I know that that minimum payment is super low, but I want to bump it up as soon as I can so I can pay this off sooner. And then I have my big Nelnet student loans. Now, I opted to have my student loans lumped together for this document because once we go into the tracker, you'll see that there's a lot of vertical columns, and I didn't feel like looking at a bunch of different columns every single month. So it's all personal preference. I decided to just keep all of my student loans with Nelnet in one column, and I just did the weighted monthly interest here. Nelnet is $14,449.72. And then I have my Wandering Aimfully membership, which I mentioned in my last budget video. I decided to put this as a debt because once you pay off the balance, then you have a lifetime membership and you never have to pay a monthly fee again. And so I really wanted to include that as a debt because it does have a finite balance and payoff date. So this has also been really helpful for me in terms of motivating me to pay this off sooner because now it's grouped in here and I can see how many payments I have left until it's at zero. Lastly, I have this Affirm loan. Now, as I mentioned before, I've already paid off Affirm loans 1 through 5, but this was as of June 2023, which was earlier this year. So for the sake of having everything in the tracker as of June, I decided to put this here, which I know has a super small balance. I could have left it out, but I just wanted to put it in here. So that's where we are. And now if I scroll down the page, you'll see we have 3 sections here. One is for a down payment. So if I had a lump sum that I wanted to put towards my debt, I could put that number here. And then total minimum payments, this automatically calculates all of the minimum payments that are up here. And then monthly extra. So if I wanted to contribute an extra $50 a month towards my debt, this is where I would put that number. Now we're going to go off to the payment plan, and you'll see here that it's automatically sorted my debts based on the Snowball method because that's what I put here. And the Snowball method is sorting your debts from the lowest balance to the highest balance, and then after you pay off a certain debt, then you apply what you would have put towards that smallest debt and you put it towards the next one, and you continue to do that until all the debts are paid off. So you'll see if I switch this to Avalanche, it updates the debt-free date, and the reason this is 30 years from now, which is completely off, is because I currently have no minimum payment here, and so it kind of messes up the calculations that I have in the tracker. I wasn't going to do the Avalanche method anyways, so I'm going to go back up to Snowball. And you can see based on June 2023, these are the ones that I would pay off in this order. I'm expected to be debt-free in May 2029, which is 6 years from now, as you see here. And then I also have my total estimated balance. Now, the estimated balance takes my original balance, which is all of these added up, right? And that's $19,000. And then it calculates based on the 4.45 weighted interest that I would have in student loans. It adds that to my starting balance. So that's why it's saying there would be an estimated $2,000 and some change in interest that I would pay over the years. Now we're going to go to the debt summary page. In the top right, I just have this verse that really resonates with me. And then the first section I have here is the timeline. So I have the same debt-free date that's on the start page, the same minimum payments as you can see right here. And then I have the monthly extra, same as on the start page. And this just shows me a visual timeline of when I'm expected to be debt-free. In the middle, I have my balance pie chart here. So since June, I have paid $1,500, but I still have $20,000 and some change remaining. And as you can see, I have a lot more to go, mainly because of those student loans. And then for a distribution, this explains what I was showing on the start page. So if I had no interest at all, this would be my starting balance and it wouldn't grow from that. But because I have interest on those Nelnet student loans, if I continue on this trajectory, I'm expected to pay $2,200 in interest over the years. So in short, the sooner I pay off these loans, the less I'll have to pay in interest, and this will update. So down here we have all of the very minute details. So I have the estimated interest for that specific debt. Obviously, the only one that this really applies to is Nelnet because it's the only one that has an interest rate. And then I have my estimated balances, the debt-free dates for that specific loan, the total that I've paid for that loan so far, and then how much I have remaining. And now we're gonna head into the debt tracker, which is super exciting. And this goes up to 25 different debt category columns. But because these are my only loans, I've decided to hide the other columns because they're just pretty much irrelevant. And the unique thing about this is that it has sorted my loans for me automatically based on the Snowball method that I had here on the start page. So you can see it goes 5, 6, DP, and then 7. And if we go to the tracker, it does the same thing, 5, 6, DP, and 7. And you can see by looking at the balances that these slowly go up in the amount. So this little overview section is really handy if you want to see all of those numbers like I do. And one thing you'll notice is that I do have some groups going on. I don't like to see all the numbers all the time, so I decided to hide these 3 rows here, which is the starting balance, the estimated interest, and the paid so far, because I already have these progress bars here. But I do leave this as a group in case you do want to hide or show that. I typically keep this closed like this. And then I also have an option to hide the progress bars if you want to just kind of get straight into the numbers. It really depends on what I'm trying to achieve in the sheet, and then I can just hide or expand these rows depending on if they're distracting to me or not. This is my overall progress for these debts, but for now I'm going to hide these and talk about what's going on with the month, the balance, and this paid checkbox. So first I have this month column here, which goes all the way down 50 years from whatever your start date was on the start page. Mine was June 2023, so that's why that is here, and then it just adds 1 month on top of that. Then I have the balance, which as you can see adds the balances of all of the loans across. And then this checkbox, if I click into it, you'll see that it's actually a formula. So this is not clickable. And the reason that I did it this way is because I did not want to have to manually check this box off. I mean, that is something that's very simple, I get it, but I'm a very low maintenance person when it comes to my finances. I like things done for me automatically. I don't like to do a lot of work, and I just like to come and see my progress from time to time. So I decided to make this checkbox automatic once we are in the month that is on the columns, such as the fact that we are in October, it will go ahead and check this box off. And then also based on that checkbox, I have these rows to shade a certain color, which also helps me because I'm a visual learner. And so I wanted to have that distinction from where I started to where I am now. For Affirm 6, this is the one that I'm going to enter in on screen. In September, I ended up having some extra money, and I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and pay this off and save myself a couple of dollars or whatever in interest. So when you're working in the cells, all of these cells that you see have formulas in them. So be very wary of when you're adding in manual payments. Once I type in the number that I'm about to type in, the formula won't be there anymore. So I'm going to give you all an example. If I were to type in $5,000 right here, right? I'm putting this in because it's a payment that I made to Affirm 6. But if I go to my start page and later on I'm like, you know what, I want to pursue the Avalanche method. Once I switch this to Avalanche, it is going to resort all of the debts here on this tracker. So you'll see this does not say Affirm 6 anymore, it says DP. So you want to be really mindful of that because whatever manual number you enter in is going to stay in that box regardless of what debts are changed. Now I'm going to enter in how much I actually paid. So in September, I paid the total remaining balance, which was $127.51. So I'm gonna put that in there, press enter, and now this has updated automatically and you'll see that this is paid off. And if I expand my progress bar, there we go. I'm so happy. And then I have this group here at the top because I like to hide the debts once they're paid off. So I'm just gonna do this. And now those are kind of hidden out of view without me missing out on any data, and I can simply reopen this if I want to. Obviously the one that's going to take the longest time to pay off is Nelnet because it just has such a drastic balance difference, especially with the interest going on. So that is why my date is being pushed to May 2029, but I'm definitely praying that I can make the right decisions to pay that down much quicker. The last thing I wanted to mention is that I actually tend to have my frozen rows and headers. I just left it off for when we initially came to the spreadsheet because I didn't want it to look kind of funky. So now as I scroll down, I can see the information that I'm looking at. And then also as I'm scrolling to the right, I can keep my overview there on the side. So it's all personal preference. If you don't want to have any frozen columns and rows, you don't have to. Lastly, I have my debt settings. This allows me to rename anything in the tracker. As you can see, all of these headers here say schedule, but if I wanted to change schedule to, I don't know, burgers, when I go back into the debt tracker, you can see it updates here. I also have descriptions and definitions of things, kind of like a little cheat sheet about any debt and finance vocabulary that I'm learning along the way and how it applies to the spreadsheet. Otherwise, that is pretty much it. Like I said, a very simple setup, very low maintenance. I do plan to do a more in-depth video about how I'm using this in conjunction with Monarch Money, and I'll be talking about how I'll be distributing my payments as the months go on. But for now, these are definitely going to be the priority, really just getting those paid off as quickly as possible, especially the Affirm one because that does have interest. That's all for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed the setup and found it helpful in any kind of way. If you're interested in the template, I will have the link below in the description, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video. Much love.